Good day, students. So today we'll be looking at parts of a tree trunk, and we'll first draw on your knowledge of parts of a tree. Remember we did that before, right? Now, by the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify the parts of a tree trunk. That's one. You should be able to state the function of these parts, okay? Of each part of the tree trunk. And you must be able to identify the annual rings and tell me how old the tree is based on the amount of annual rings the tree has. We'll discuss that further just now, okay? Alright, so parts of the tree trunk. So please head up parts of the tree trunk in your book and let's begin. When we looked at the parts of the tree, right? We looked at the three main parts. Can you remember what the three main parts are of a tree?
Crown.
The crown, I'm hearing the crown, which is, which part? Right, where we have the leaves and so on. And then we have the, what do we call this part? And the roots. Good. So these are the three main parts of a tree. Now we'll be looking at the parts of the trunk because we're dealing with building and forestry technology. So we're looking at the part that we get the wood from. Okay? So when we after felling and you look at the tree trunk, these parts are visible. Okay? Now I want you to pay attention to this diagram of a tree trunk and pay attention to where the parts are. Right? Now if you notice, this part here, what is this? Medullary rays, right? And these are these lines here that appear as cracks on the trunk. We refer to that as the medullary rays, okay? Then we have the annual rings. The annual rings are these rings here that the tree puts on annually. Each year, the tree gets wider, right? So naturally, after felling, when we look at the trunk of the tree, you can tell how old the tree is by counting the annual rings, right? This is one annual ring, this is another one, this is another one, you see? And you understand why they call them annual rings? We also refer to them as growth rings because we call it annual rings because every year the tree puts on another ring, right? That is why we can tell how old the tree is. If every year the tree puts on another ring, after felling, right, we can tell how old the tree was by looking at or counting those rings. Understand? Good. So you'll be able to do that for me just now. But by looking at this here, how many rings you think this trunk, how old you think this trunk was? This tree was? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What about this one? 7 years old. Right? Good. Now let's look at the pit now. You notice this dark part here? We refer to that as the pit or the medulla. And these rays are called medullary rays because they project away from the medulla, which is this dark part, the pit, the core, the heart of the trunk. Okay? This, can you tell me what do you think this part was? Yes. This was the first part of the tree, right? The first part that they refer to as the stem, and then as it put on and the tree, this plant turned into a tree, it would put on all these other layers. Understand? Alright, so now we have, after the pit, we have the hardwood, which is this area here. And if you notice, it's a bit darker than this area, right? This area is the softwood area, in which we're getting to just now, and it's much lighter than the hardwood. You see the pit is extremely dark because the pit was the first part of the tree, right? So this part contains a lot of dead cells. That's why the color is like that. Then we have the hardwood, okay? And the hardwood, it's getting to that stage. So you see the color is a bit lighter. Sorry, the color is a bit darker than the softwood area. Right? Good. So the hardwood, this is this. The softwood is this area here. Okay? Now the cambium layer is the layer between this outer part here, in which we refer to as this outer part here, in which we refer to as the outer bark, right? So the cambium is the layer between the outer bark and the softwood area. Understand? So this thin layer here is the cambium. And then we have the inner bark, which is basically the inside of the bark. We have the outside, and then we have the inside of the bark, right? Outer bark and the inner bark. Okay? So, do you think you'll be able to identify these parts if I were to ask you to identify them? You should be able to, right? So, just now we'll go into the, I'll put you guys in groups, and then you identify the parts, okay? Alright. So, do you think when it's time for us to use, after felling, right? What happens next? In the process of conversion, they will take off the bark, right? And what do you think is the purpose of the bark? Right, to protect all these other layers. Excellent. The bark, that's why it's so hard. It protects all these other parts within the trunk from animals, from insects, and so on. Okay? That's the purpose of the bark. Alright. So this is what I want you to do for me. Is there any part that you don't understand the function of? Any questions? Okay. Alright, so I'm going to put you in groups, and then within your groups, I'm going to give you this information sheet here. On this sheet, you have the functions of each part, okay? And we have a diagram showing the tree trunk, right? And you're going to identify the parts for me. I'm going to take this down obviously. Within your groups, you're going to identify the parts using this information sheet and what I would have explained to you just now. Think you can do that? Yes. Good. So please go into two groups for me. Yeah, you can turn around there. And the two of you should come here. Just pull this stool over here. You turn around there. Here you go. So you're going to identify the parts here using this information sheet. Right? This sheet has all the functions of each part. I'm going to remove this off the board now. I'm going to use the functions to identify the parts. And then we'll do it as a class just now. After. Right? You can start having a discussion. Yes, this is the same. Just read the functions of the parts, and as a group, we need to where you think this is.
Which one? The rings are on.
You want a pencil to write with? Look, I'll give you another sheet as well. So write with a pencil. So we can make changes. Use this sheet. And if you're unsure about the parts, it's going to bring clarity.
That's already in the time.
I want you to study the information properly. Would you like some more copies? Yes. So that just so when it's time for us to have a discussion on the function of these parts, you'll be able to have that discussion. Do you need any more copies of the information sheet? finished? Good. So now I have my version of the tree trunk on the board here. Good. I want you to tell me. I'll collect your sheet just now, but I want you to tell me based on what you have there. What is this part here? What do we call this part here? The outer bar, right? What do we call the inside here? What do we call this part? Huh? We call it a? Because how do you know this is the cambium? Because the cambium is located between the inner bar and the sapwood area. Yes. So this is the cambium. This area here. So what do we call this area here? The sapwood area. Why do you think we call this the sapwood? Let's go back to when we looked at the parts of the tree, the main parts of the tree, right? What did we say is the function of the root? To take in water and for the tree. Good? And it takes this in, and we refer to that water and the minerals or the nutrients as what? Something with S. Sap. So we refer to that as sap. So why do you think we call in this area the sapwood area? Right. This is where when the root takes in the water and the mineral salt, in which we refer to as sap, when the root takes it in from the earth, it passes through this area to go to other parts of the tree. Understand? That is why we refer to this wood that is located in this area as the sapwood. Good. Now if you notice, I tried to make this area a little bit darker. Why? Because this is the hardwood area. Good. Now the hardwood is located at the center of the tree trunk. Okay? The hardwood is located there. How do you tell the difference? It is much darker than that of the sapwood area. Good. What do we call these lines here that appears as cracks? Huh? Medullary rays, right? Because, alright, so we can come to that now. Good. What do we call this part here? The pit, right? So the pit is located at the direct core of the trunk, and it is much darker because it contains a lot of dead cells, okay? This was the first part of the tree. So this is the pit. We also refer to this area as the medulla, right? That's why these rays that come away from this area are projecting away from this area, refer to them as the medullary rays. Okay? Alright, so what do we call these rings here? They're annual rings or growth rings, okay? Good. So it's good to see that you were able to identify the parts. Do you have any questions? Good. Now, I would like you to, I have a diagram with the parts of the tree trunk. You're going to please give me the one that you were asked to label. I'll check it. And you're going to paste this one in your book. There you go. So you can now go back to your seat so that you can get the piece of your book. I'll leave that okay there. Where's your book? Come back over here so you can get to the one. So we have some blue here, just use that class and don't take the information. Blue paper. Is everybody okay now? So upon examining the tree trunk you're given to label, I noticed that you would have labeled all the parts correctly. Very good. So this information sheet with the function of the parts, I need you to place it in your books as well so that you wouldn't forget these functions. Look at the functions, study through them, because just now I'll be asking you some questions individually based on the parts of the tree trunk and its functions. Good. Individually, close our books. Or do you need some more time? Because let me tell you what I want you to do now. I want you to come out here. I'll choose some persons to come out here and identify one part of the trunk each. Okay, until we complete the entire part, the entire parts of the trunk. So when you come out here, you're going to tell me a little bit of what you know about the part that you're identifying. Okay? So let me give you some more time to look at the information sheet that you have here. In the next 5 minutes, we'll begin. Ready? Or y'all need 3 more minutes? Ready? Alright. Sound? Close all those things. Please come over here and identify one part of the tree.
This is the hardwood. It no longer carries water, but it offers its tree strength and its rigidity.
So it acts as great support for the tree, right? Because remember the trunk supports the crown, right? It holds up the crown. So the hardwood plays an important part in supporting, right? In supporting the crown. So it's a strong part of the trunk. Very good sound. Next person, would you like me to call you or would you like to come on? Good. So she's saying that the outer bar protects the tree from what? Do you agree with that? Yes, very good. Give her a clap. I forget to tell y'all, give Sam a clap. Give Sam a clap as well. Very good, very good. Would somebody else like to come out? So we have David.
This is the support. The support is a new element surrounding the heart both of the tree. It conducts water and minerals from the root to the leaf. It stores food and supports the tree.
Very good. Give him a clap. Very good. Very good. Very good. Now, I'm not speaking for you, but I want to tell you about the annual rings is that by looking at the annual rings, we could tell some of what the tree went through while it was growing. If it had a lot of nutrients, right? If there was a time in which there was like a drought or so on, and there wasn't a lot of nutrients for the tree, right? By looking at how thick the annual ring is. If the annual ring is very tiny, like us, when we eat a lot, we tend to get right. So when the tree gets a lot of nutrients, it tends to get wider rings. Understand? Very good. Take a seat. Thank you. Give her a clap, did you? All right. Somebody else? Pardon?
The auxiliary is that transport water and nutrients horizontally
Horizontally across the layers of the tree, right? The medullary rays. Very good. Give him a clap. Very good. And these rays, they appear as cracks on the, but it isn't a defect, right? But it appears as cracks on the trunk when you look at it. Right? And another reason why we call it medullary rays, right, is what? Because it projects from the medulla, which is also known as the pit, right? Good. Anybody else? Don't make me call native. Anybody else? Don't be shy. We only have a few parts left. It's 3 parts. Sure. Oh my. Yes. Very good observation. These are the annual rings, right? And you identify the fulcrum. Right? What is the name of this area? So the annual rings are these parts here. That's why I put an arrow here and another arrow here to point at the rings, okay? Alright, so CAM. Right, so this is the cambium layer. This layer is located between the inner bark and the sapwood. Very good. Very good observation. Give him a clap. Somebody else? We have two parts left to identify. Here. Also, yes. You just tell me who we install this part and your friend will come out. Why? You don't like come? Alright. It's okay. Go call your fears.
This is the starting point of the tree itself.
Right, it's the core of the tree, right? It's extremely dark. That's how we're able to identify it, and it's at the center of the tree trunk, okay? This is the pit or the medmetal. Very good. Give him a clap. Next person to identify the last part, which is this part here. This is pointing at this part. This line here. Because we already identified this part, so now this is just this inner part here. Give me part to the answer. Somebody? Anybody? You want to go again, Sam?
Yes.
Alright. Is that the inner bar?
Yes.
Yes, that is the inner bar. Very good. Give them a bar. Good. So we have the outer bar, the inner bar, and the other parts. Alright. Some questions just now. So before we wrap up, I'll ask some questions, and this will be for anybody now. But I will identify the persons who I would like to answer the question. Right? So you cannot read a book again now. Huh? No, you don't have to go out on the board. You're scared of that kid, eh? It's okay. We'll start in 1 minute. in. What am I?
Outer.
The outer bar. Very good. If you count me, you can tell how old am I.
Lower rings.
The annual rings or the group rings, right? I am the core of the trunk. I am the core of the trunk. I am the
Pit.
pit. Right? I am old. I am inactive wood,
Wood.
and I'm a bit dark in color. I am hardwood. I conduct sap and minerals from the root to other parts of the tree. What am I? The sapwood. I am a thin layer between inner bark and the sapwood area. I am a thin layer between the inner bark and the sapwood area. What am I?
Here.
The cambium. Very good. My job is to transport water and nutrients horizontally across the trunk. The medullary rings. Very good. So, what we would have done there is to identify all the parts except one. Which one we didn't identify? Which one we didn't identify? The inner bark, right? Which is basically the inside of the bark. So the entire thing is the bark, right? Which is removed in the process of conversion, right? Because we don't use the bark, right? When it comes to make things, right? So we take off the bark and we use the wood on it. So the bark consists of the inner bark and the outer bark. Very good. So that's it for today. Do you have any questions? Any questions based on today's lesson? Okay. All right.